Hi, Crucible Arms here. Today I want to do a really short video on what criminals are going to need to do in order to obtain their firearms from now on. As you all know, there is a universal background check legislation both at the state level as well as the federal level that has got some legs and looks like it's going to get passed. So I want to make sure that criminal element out there, they don't always have access to the latest information. So I want to make sure that they understand what they're going to need to do to obtain their firearms. So the first thing they're going to need to do is they're going to need to fill out one of these, Federal Form 4473, and this will take all of their background information. They'll answer a number of questions truthfully, of course, making sure that they put in here that they're not criminals. And so they will, be able to take their time, go through this form, get it filled out appropriately. They'll do that with someone like me. So the first thing they're going to have to do is find a federal licensee like myself. I'm a dealer. So they're going to need to give me a call and set up a time to come and see me. So they'll fill this out. They will need to bring, their driver's license with them. So make sure that they've got that, or any federal ID will work. It doesn't have to be a driver's license. Their passports will work just as fine. But they will need government issued ID that's going to have all of their information on it so that we can get that in the system. They're also going to need, either their permit to purchase or their permit to carry, that they've gone to either a CCW class and have passed all of that, passed a sheriff's background check. Either that, or they're going to have to go to their local police department, get a permit to purchase. So as long as you got one of the two of those, you don't need both, but as long as they have one of the two of those, then criminals will be able to come and see me. Of course, don't forget, you're going to need to bring your cash. Okay, I don't have any choice in that matter. I am going to be required to charge you $25. Now I can't charge more than that, but I can't just not charge you. So make sure that you bring some cash with you. I'm sorry, I do have a rule with criminals. I don't accept checks. So bring your cash with you. It's going to be $25 to get that done. Of course, you're going to need to bring the firearm that you want to have transferred. So make sure that the person that's transferring this to you, your criminal buddy that wants to, pass this to you, make sure that they bring this in with them so that I can get the serial number off of it, because that needs to be written down on the form. So bring that to me as well. And again, the person that's transferring it to you has to come along too. Those are the few simple steps that you're going to need to go through in order to make sure that you as a felon can legally obtain a firearm. Oh, and the phone, yeah, see, I have to call in and do a NICS check on you, a NICS background check, and make sure that you're not a criminal or a felon, and that you're not in our current NICS system, which of course has holes in it big enough to drive a truck through, but that's a different story. So once you've done all that, and I realize most of you you're not going to be transferring rifles, let alone assault weapons. So, make sure that you bring your handgun with you so that we can get the serial number off of this as well. So let's speak seriously for a minute, okay? Many people think that the fight for our Second Amendment rights is virtually over with. We've been making a lot of strides in making sure that the Second Amendment doesn't get infringed. It doesn't look like at the federal level or at the state level here in Minnesota that an assault weapon ban is going to have any legs to it at all. It will get called to the floor. They will ask your senators and your legislators, your senators and congressmen, to vote on it. So understand they're still under a lot of pressure. Even if it's not going to pass, they're going to have to be accountable to it. And with so many people being in favor of the universal background check, if you believe what you're being told, 90% of American citizens believe that a universal background check is a good thing. And why wouldn't it be? It makes sense, doesn't it? Well, let me tell you how polls work, okay? If I were to put out a poll that said, do you think that it should be a right for every American citizen to be able to own a home? My guess is there would be quite a substantial yes vote on that in my poll. Now, if I went on to say, but what that's going to involve is all of you paying an additional tax every year in order to fund the system that's going to allow people the right to own a home, then I think the results of the poll might be a little different. It's the same thing with universal background checks. You ask that simple question and 90% of people say, geez, that sounds good to me. Why wouldn't I want to do that? Until you start to peel the onion and understand what's really behind it and what it really means, and more importantly, what it doesn't mean. I'm going to annotate a video that I did. I gave testimony at the Senate, Minnesota State Senate, Judiciary Committee hearing on this particular law, universal background checks. Take a minute, take a look at it. It's 5 minutes of testimony. It's another 5 minutes of questions and answers. And it goes through step by step what the egregious issues are and why it's going to be largely ineffective. The first one I showed you is criminals don't subject themselves to this kind of thing. They never will. Now what will happen is law-abiding citizens like you and me will have to do this. If we don't, we're felons. Understand that. If you want to loan your rifle to your buddy for the weekend, the process I described to you is what you're going to need to go through in order to be able to loan him your rifle just to go plinking for the weekend, or your handgun or anything else. Anybody short of an immediate family member, and I mean immediate, right? Your children, your wife, is going to have to go through this process in order to be able to borrow a firearm from you, or for you to be able to borrow a firearm from them. So if you're going to take your child for some firearm safety training, and you need to borrow a rifle from me in order to do that, you're going to have to come see, now fortunately I am a dealer, right? But let's say that I'm not your dealer. You're going to have to come see somebody like me, fill all of this out, pay the fee so that you can borrow a neighbor's .22 so your son can get firearm safety training. Does that make sense to you? It doesn't make much sense to me. Let's say that you want to go hunting with a friend of yours and you need to borrow somebody else's shotgun to be able to go and do that over a weekend or week period. You're going to have to find, again, a licensed dealer like me and go through this entire process in order to do that. And then you're going to have to come back and do it again when you want to transfer it back to the person that you borrowed it from. So it's going to cost you $50 in a tax. There's no other way to say it. It is a tax. In order to loan somebody your firearm and have them give it back to you over that period of time. If you decided that, you know what, I don't really have to do this, we'll just keep it between you and I, well, just understand you'll be committing a felony, and that you will be not unlike any other criminal that happens to be out there. So there's going to be a mass criminalization of law-abiding people, because there's going to be people that will not have access to an FFL like me and will choose to do this, but they'll be breaking the law and committing a felony. So here's what we need to do. It's quite simple. We have to stay vigilant. We have to stay active, okay? It's not enough to just sit back and have others do it for us. What you're going to need to do is you're going to need to write your legislators, you're going to need to email your legislators, you're going to need to call your legislators, and if possible, go see them, go to their offices, whether it be federal or local, whether it's your state or your federal representatives, they all have offices, okay? Make an appointment, go see them. I saw one of my senators last week, I'm seeing the other one this week. They are supportive of this type of legislation. And I don't think it's because they don't understand the issues. It's because 90% of Americans, quote unquote, are telling them this is what they want. So they have to hear from us. They have to hear from the informed people. They have to get the message that we understand what's involved in this. We understand that this legislation only infringes upon the rights of law-abiding firearm owners in this country and does nothing to abate criminal activity or address the core issues of gun crime. I spent an hour with my with my senator's representative talking about these issues, and that matters. It matters greatly to these people. So keep up the fight. Don't let down right now. Get active. Be part of the solution, because again, what has the most legs in all of this legislation is this universal background check. If you think criminals are going to go through what I just described to you, I have a bridge to sell you. Thanks for tuning in. We'll check you out next time. Crucible Arms signing off.